I may have told just a little white lie in my last video. I called it an ultimate modding guide, and yeah, I went over everything, and to my credit, I did touch on some basic joystick modding, including changing the ball top, the shaft and washer, and I changed out the gate. But the truth is, there's more that's possible, and that is exactly where today's video comes in. Today, I'm taking a look at the Otto DIY V5 kit. While the ball top and gate are the two most common things that people change on a joystick, installing the V5 kit will require a complete teardown, so I'll be able to show you everything that can be changed or modded on a joystick. The Otto DIY kit works unsurprisingly with the Sanwa JLF, but it also works with a Hori Hayabusa. However, I think the JLF is much better served by it, so that's what I'll be installing it on today. The Otto kit comes with a new body in white plastic instead of the usual black, so it's going to be very obvious when one of these has been installed on a lever. The V2 and V5 version of the Otto DIY kit share this body, the same one is going to come in either kit. What's going to be different though is the type of pivot that it comes with. Both of these pivots are separate from the body. In the V5 kit, you're going to get this housing and this cam for the pivot, and both of them are made completely out of Teflon. The Teflon components are what originally drew me to this kit. I think we all know Teflon from non-stick pans, but I really wanted to know what would two Teflon parts be like rubbing together. There is also a set of new actuators it comes with in 12, 12.5, and 13 millimeters. A JLF by default comes with an 11mm actuator, so that might not sound like much, but when you consider the really tight tolerances of a joystick, even adding an extra millimeter can really significantly alter the feel. Finally, you get two included gates. This one is labeled FD, and it is a traditional square gate, although the square on it is actually smaller than what you would normally get on a JLF. The other one is labeled BFY, and it's a rounded square gate, which is sometimes humorously referred to as a squircle. If you remember my first video where I talked about how unbranded JLF clones often have these really poorly cut gates where they're just like these straight 90-degree cuts right down, these provide a nice contrast to that. These have very wide tapers at the bottom, especially in the corners, so rolling on these is incredibly smooth. Both the gates and all of the other parts have an incredibly premium feel to them, which is good considering the $30 price tag of this kit. With that out of the way, let's get over to the workbench. Let's just get this thing torn down here. You can see I've already taken the ball top, the cover, and the washer off. None of that's interesting. All you have to do is lock the shaft down here and twist the ball top off. These aren't that hard to get taken apart, it's just not something you see as often. Start by pulling the gate off here, pop a corner, and then the other. The next thing to do is get the E-clip off. A good way to do this is to get a flathead into one of the cutouts of the E-clip and hold the shaft straight with your middle and index finger. If you can, it can also help to push the actuator down. That should keep the shaft straight. You may have issues if the shaft moves around. Also, put a finger over the clip itself. That will keep the E-clip from going flying. Then the actuator can come off and you'll see the spring underneath it. After that is the pressure plate and a thin metal washer. You'll want to come back and get that off later. Then this is the cam. It's greasy, making it hard to hold. It's a little hard to see with the mounting plate on, but this is the housing of the pivot. It will be easier to see once the plate is off and not reflecting light, but the housing is part of the body on this, unlike the Otto mod. I'll show this off quickly. Keep it in mind going forward. You can see here what the actuation looks like on a stock JLF. It's good, the grease is doing its job, but it's going to get a lot better. Now I have to get the plate off, one moment. Finally, real quick, I'm going to pop the washer out. You should be able to see some of the grease reflecting in the light. This is important to call out. There are little metal nuts that go with the bolts I just unscrewed on the underside of the body. I've already put in the ones that came with the Otto kit. They're fussy to get in and there's nothing interesting to watch. You can see here they have a brassy color. There's another slight difference between the bodies. The Otto body has larger tabs here and they gently lock the micro switches into place. It's a little bonus for the JLF, but practically necessary with the Hayabusa. Just to recap, here's everything that came off the JLF. You'll need to reuse the shaft, the mounting plate, pressure plate, washer, switches, E-clip, and spring. Everything else you can set aside. Again, make sure you have the nuts in the body. If you don't do this before starting, you won't be able to screw the mounting plate on. If this happens, you have no choice but to take it all back off. The kit comes with these screws. It's worth pointing out they're hex bits or Allen keys, whatever you call them. And the corresponding bit does not come with the kit. If you have nothing that works though, you can reuse the Phillips head screws that you already took out. The pivot housing is a little tricky to get in, but nothing too bad. Wiggle it around a bit and it will fall into place and seat into the body. Because there's no grease involved, the cam won't hold into place, so just be aware of that. Alright, I'm gonna move this around a little bit here. You can see just how much nicer this is moving around. In fact, the cam will even move around just with gravity. It has that little friction. This cam fits the shaft tighter than the default one. You're gonna push it through flat side up. Now you can put the washer and pressure plate down. Hold them and put the shaft in. Now you can put the spring back on. You can get custom ones if you want a different level of tension. As an example, here's a 2-pound spring from Arcade Shock's EX Gear brand. But for this, I'm just gonna stick with the default. Now you need to pick an actuator. I'm gonna go all in with the 13mm. Here's how to put that back on. Hold the actuator down, then slide the E-clip on near the notch in the shaft. Then let go of the actuator. The pressure from the spring will hold the clip in place, and you can go get pliers. Then squeeze it on. That looks mostly right, but give it another check. You should see here, there's still a hair further to go. Now you can put the micro switches back on, and you should hear a nice click. That is the larger tabs that I pointed out earlier. Next, you need to pick the gate you want to use. I'll go with the BFY, the square circle hybrid. I'll quickly point out just how nice these gates are. Here it is next to a standard Sanwa gate, which is no slouch, and hopefully you can see just how wide the taper is on these gates. Finally, you just have to screw the mounting plate back on, and with that, you are done installing the Otto mod kit. Okay, wrapping up then, I want to go back to something I said earlier on in the video, that I don't think the Hori Hayabusa is served well by this kit. Now, to be clear, it absolutely can be installed on a Hayabusa. I did it off camera, so I can guarantee that it works. The reason that I don't like the Otto kit for the Hayabusa is because when you look at all the parts included, they're all JLF parts. It's a JLF body, it's a JLF pivot, it's a JLF gate. Now, I'm gonna make assumptions here, but I'm pretty sure if someone is using a Hayabusa and it didn't just come by default on whatever arcade stick they have, it's an active choice on their part because they like something about it over a JLF. And JLFs at this point are effectively the default high quality joystick. Almost everything that makes a Hayabusa feel unique is lost by installing one of these kits on it. Now, Hori designed the Hayabusa as an evolution of the JLF, so it's unsurprising that they have a lot of similarities and a lot of parts compatibility. But the differences in the pivot between the two are probably the most significant. Hori went a completely different direction when they were looking at how to make the actuation better. Their diagram right here is exaggerated, but I think it gets the point across. Hori improved actuation by reducing the total surface area where friction can even occur. The Otto mod goes the traditional route of the JLF and makes full contact between the cam and the housing, but it improves actuation by making both of them out of a super low friction material. Another minor detail with regards to the pivot is Hori also changed the type of grease that gets used in it. Hayabusa comes with this really thin viscous grease that has like no tackiness, where a JLF uses a more traditional grease where if you get it between your fingers, you can feel there's a little bit of that sticky, tacky feeling. It might all sound like I'm splitting hairs here, but I think this is important. I would describe a Hayabusa as feeling slick, where I would say that a JLF, especially with an Otto mod, feels silky smooth, if that makes any sense. I'm left conflicted here because I'm not sure it's always going to be an extra $30 of smooth. Oh, hey. Editing Eric here. I wanted to pop in here quick and say that I gave the price of this a little more thought. See, the thing is, when you're done with this thing, you're gonna have 3 parts left over, 2 actuators and an additional gate. So, in theory, if you have multiple sticks that you could install this on, the cost can kind of be dispersed across them. You know, you can do the full mod on one of them, change out a gate and actuator on another, and then an actuator on a third. If you only have one stick to mod though, I do think a lot of the critiques I have here are still going to stand, but I realized I maybe hadn't been completely fair and wanted to correct that. All right, back to the video. Take the price of a new JLF and an auto mod together and you're looking at about a $50 lever. If you don't want to do the mod yourself, Arcade Shock will actually do it for you, but they're going to charge an additional $10. At $50 or $60, you're in the price range of levers that are designed by or with pro players. These are levers like Airbag Guy's Fusion 3, Knee's lever with IST Rocks, the IST Alpha N, or Nobi's lever with Sumetsu. As far as recommendations are concerned, I think it comes down to this. Sometimes the simple things are best, and if you like your tried and true JLF, then the auto mod has absolutely perfected it. With the auto kit, the JLF is the best version of itself. It has extreme precision and a smoothness that needs to be felt to really be fully appreciated. However, if you are not completely sold on JLFs, or if you outright don't like them, the auto mod is unlikely to make a convert of you. And I think you'd be happier looking elsewhere. Okay, I think that does it for this video. If you would please like, subscribe, and type a comment, that would be great. Especially like, apparently YouTube changed something recently, and now likes are worth way more in the algorithm, so if you do that, I'd really appreciate it. The next video I have planned is going to be one that's more short and targeted like this one, and then after that I've got something bigger and I think pretty fun, so please stay tuned, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.